Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6 at noon.
We are continuing to watch two different areas in the tropics, both increasing their chances for more development. One, though, will be getting pretty close as early as this weekend. We'll be breaking down everything you need to know in minutes.
Less than a day after the family of the man killed at Epic Universe broke their silence, new questions about the timeline of the death and the scope of the investigation. But first, another Central Florida school is dealing with a mass shooting threat. This time, the suspect isn't a student, it's a 30-year-old woman. Police say the threat was directed toward Meadowbrook Academy in Ocala. News 6's Angie Casada is following the story from the school.
Yeah, for making threats to conduct a mass shooting as well as disrupting a school function. And unfortunately, we tell you about these threats all the time. The difference with this case, though, is the age of the suspect. I want you to take a look at your screen. Ocala police said that it all started yesterday. Police saying that this woman, Oksana Deputat, posted on Facebook early yesterday morning that she was, quote, so close to shooting up the school. Investigators say when they found out about the threat, they contacted the school and discovered Deputat was a former student. The school, which has about 300 students from pre-K through 12th grade, calls itself a safe and peaceful campus. But because of yesterday's threat, the school was placed on what they call a code blue, and several officers had to respond as a precaution. But thankfully, no one was hurt, and police say posts from Deputat's account included other alarming comments going back months. She's being held with no bond. Of course, we'll keep you updated as we learn more. Reporting in Ocala, I'm Angie Casada, News 6.
Time to get a check of your forecast as we take a live look outside from our camera in Daytona Beach. Looking not so bad on this Thursday afternoon. Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos is standing by. And Candace, we're really keeping a close eye nearby in the tropics.
Right. Invest 94L. It's one that we're going to be watching pretty closely over the upcoming days. As of the 8 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center, they have increased the chances to a 70% within the next 2, 90% within the next 7 days that this could become something more tropical. Are we talking tropical storm or are we talking hurricane? There will be plenty of time as well as very warm waters for the system to develop just off the coast. Now you can see right now it's still over parts of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Once it moves into the southern Bahamas, that's where it will really be kind of a perfect spot for it to really start to fuel with a lot of that warm water, low end wind shear. Look at the Invest models. As of now, the good news is earlier this morning, most of the models or many of the models were much closer, some even crisscrossing the Sunshine State. As of around 9 a.m., those models have shifted back out towards the west. This is going to be happening for several days as we continue to get those model runs. They will continue to go back and forth. At this point in time, we still do not have a organized center of circulation to actually go by. So at this point in time, we have to continue to watch this closely just because the margin for error of how close it will be by this weekend is still a little too close for comfort. So at this point in time, not only is the track a big question mark, but so is the intensity. Within the next 72 to 96 hours, there's still a big question whether or not it's going to be a tropical storm or a hurricane. We'll have more details in a couple of the scenarios and, of course, to check on your busy Thursday forecast coming up in just a couple minutes.
Candace, thank you. A man and 2 kids are being ticketed after a crash was caught on camera. We told you over the weekend a 12 and 13-year-old were stopped on their bikes at a stop sign in the Saddlebrook subdivision in DeLand. That's when an SUV took a tight turn, hitting the bike on the left. Both boys jumped off their bikes and neither were hit. One of the kids' parents later called police and the officers cited the driver for careless driving. They also ticketed both boys for unlicensed operation of a motor vehicle after learning the bikes they were riding weren't classified as e-bikes, but actually motor vehicles based on manufacturer specifications. Last week, we spoke with police in Winter Springs who told us in their community, they come across people who don't know what kind of bike they're really riding or buying for their kids. We broke down some of the differences between e-bikes and the rules surrounding them in this article on clickorlando.com. Just search e-bike. The family of Kevin Rodriguez Zavala is now turning to high-profile attorney Ben Crump, demanding answers about Zavala's death at Universal's new theme park. It has been 1 week since he became unresponsive after riding the Stardust Racers roller coaster. News 6's Mark Lehman is outside the park with what the family is asking.
Today, attorneys are pushing to see autopsy results and video footage from the ride. They say team attendants helped Rodriguez Zavala onto the coaster and are casting doubts on the safety of the attraction.
We shared and did everything together.
The family of Kevin Rodriguez Zavala says he loved amusement parks, especially roller coasters.
His girlfriend had gotten him tickets for them to go to Universal together and have a wonderful day together, and he was very happy.
But now his loved ones are searching for answers after the medical examiner says Kevin died of blunt impact injuries after riding the Stardust Racers coaster last week.
This night, he was fine. He had no medical issues, nothing.
Attorney Ben Crump says the ME's note underscores his claim that Kevin's spinal injury had nothing to do with his death. The law firm talking with witnesses and experts to learn what happened.
That is their concern, that the restraints were the issue. But we will find out, hopefully, we will find out more.
Crump also claims employees never said anything to Kevin about restrictions. Universal Orlando's president saying in a letter this week that the ride functioned as intended and team members followed procedures.
Just because it didn't malfunction does not believe that there were not safety issues.
Yesterday, we sent emails to Universal and the State Department of Agriculture asking about concerns regarding the ride's restraints. We'll keep you updated with their response. In Orlando, Mark Lehman, News 6.
New at noon, we're learning more about the suspect who was arrested for alleged illegal firearm manufacturing and hazardous materials at his home. Police responded to the home on Pennsylvania Avenue in Rockledge, that's off Fisk Boulevard. On Tuesday, police say Patrick Carmen called them to report that his girlfriend stole multiple guns. He showed off photos of the 3D printed firearms he claimed to have built, and officers found him with a Glock converted to a submachine gun. Carmen is on inmate release for multiple felonies and was charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He was given a $15,000 bond at his first court appearance. He will be arraigned on October 16th. Also new at noon, News 6 has received a tip that the town of Eatonville is having an emergency town council meeting tonight. This is in regard to the historic Hungerford property. We told you earlier this week that the town is working with the Dr. Phillips Charities, who is stepping in to buy the 117-acre property with plans to return it to the community. According to the town's press release, the meeting will, quote, convene to debunk and reject the mayor's position of support to the foundation buying and developing the property. The council wants to consider adopting a resolution clarifying the town's official position. The meeting is at 6:30 tonight. We will let you know what happens. The city of Melbourne has rejected a proposal that would rename a roadway to Charlie Kirk Lane. The proposal failed to pass during a city council meeting last night. Mayor Paul Alfrey suggested renaming a stretch of Cypress Avenue between O'Galley Boulevard to Orange Street. According to our news partners at Florida Today, Alfrey proposed the workshop to look into renaming the roadway, but it was only supported by one member. Federal prosecutors are close to making a decision on whether to seek an indictment against former FBI Director James Comey. It comes as President Trump has publicly called on his attorney general to look into Comey as a key deadline nears. CBS's Natalie Brand has the details.
Bad things. He was a terrible person, did terrible things.
For years, President Trump has clashed with former FBI Director James Comey, who he fired during his first term.
Clapper and Comey and that whole group of criminals, they're criminals, and they made it very tough. You know, they did the fake Russia witch hunt that lasted for 2 years.
Multiple sources tell CBS News federal prosecutors are now considering bringing a case against Comey before a grand jury. There are reports they're looking into charging him with lying to Congress when he testified in 2020 about the FBI's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election.
I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
The 5-year statute of limitations runs out Tuesday, and just days ago, President Trump publicly urged Attorney General Pam Bondi to look into Comey and other political opponents.
He posted on social media, "Justice must be served now." Over the weekend, the president also ousted the U.S. Attorney of the Eastern District of Virginia, the office handling the case. A former personal attorney to Trump, Lindsay Halligan, is now serving as the interim head there.
You don't want a universe in which that pressure distorts the prosecutorial judgment. It makes prosecutors make charging decisions based not on the evidence, but on what they think will please the president.
A grand jury would have to approve an indictment. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink.
A busy morning on our Space Coast. Around 4:40 this morning, SpaceX launched another batch of 28 Starlink satellites into orbit using their Falcon 9 rocket. It lifted off out of Cape Canaveral Space Force Station's Launch Complex 40. This launch marked the 22nd flight for the first stage booster supporting this mission. Then, just hours later, around 8 o'clock, the United Launch Alliance's Atlas V rocket sent another batch of Kuiper satellites into orbit for Amazon. This launch was dubbed Kuiper 3. Today is the first day open carry is now legal in the state of Florida, but some questions still remain. Coming up, we speak with an attorney on the impacts and help clear up where guns are and are not allowed. We leave you with a live look from our Mount Dora cam. You're watching News 6 at noon. We'll be right back.
Introducing the new $25 million Gold Rush Multiplier Scratch-Off from the Florida Lottery.
Open carry is now the law. Weeks after a court ruled the state's ban open carry unconstitutional, today is the first day people can carry their guns out in the open. News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez spoke with a Second Amendment lawyer about the impacts and some lingering questions.
While open carry is the law now in Florida, there are places that people are federally banned from having firearms. But when it comes to the state, the rules aren't clear yet.
So the statute prohibiting open carry is gone.
Attorney James Phillips is a partner at Orlando's firearm firm with an expertise on the Second Amendment.
We had a case that came out of the First District Court of Appeals on September the 10th that found that that ban on open carry violates the Second Amendment, therefore is unconstitutional.
And Florida was kind of an outlier in the United States when it came to open carry.
Yeah, there was only a handful of states, with Florida being one of them, that had a blanket ban on open carry.
While the ruling cleared the way for open carry, it didn't provide any stipulations as to where people can't open carry, and that could be an issue.
This didn't go through the legislative process. We didn't have a bill that was signed into law that said, hey, open carry has been revoked, but here are the parameters for it.
Florida law already bans carrying of guns in places like legislative meetings and polling places. That hasn't changed. Also, federal law prohibits guns in places like schools, police stations, post offices, and federal courthouses.
What we advise people to do is somewhat abide by the prohibited locations for CWFL holders. That's the safest bet. Until we get a little bit more direction, I assume there's going to be a lot of legislative bills coming out relatively quickly to address prohibited locations.
Now, if you go on private property and the owner prohibits firearms, they can ask you to leave. And if you don't, you could face a felony charge. Reporting in Orlando, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
Time now coming up on 12:16. Let's get a check of your forecast as we take a live look from our Launch Credit Union camera out there at Port Canaveral. You can see those clouds beginning to build. Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos is here. We'll be tracking some showers late today, but everyone's mind right now on the tropics, Candace.
Right, until you get caught under some of those heavy downpours tonight, and then all eyes are going to be on the radar, right? So let's talk about tropics first off. We are watching, again, these dueling storms. Right now we have still Tropical Storm Humberto, still sustained winds upping up to about 50 miles per hour, will likely become a hurricane as early as tomorrow. At the same time, as that develops, so will Invest 94L. Late this morning, National Hurricane Center updating its number is now a likelihood chance within the next 2 to 9 days that Invest 94L could develop most likely right around in this zone here once it kind of leaves the Caribbean islands, less land interaction, and that's when it will start to get its act together. So we're going to put the computer models as well as the forecast cone of Humberto side by side, and you can see not only is Humberto getting into more of the hurricane status, major hurricane status potentially come this weekend. At the same time, we're watching these computer models. Could they be more aligned? Yes. Are they looking a little more together? Yes. So we are starting to see improvements. Also, as of the 9 a.m. update, we are starting to see many of the computer models shift a little further back to the east. That doesn't mean we can write off the storm just yet because it will continue to fluctuate until we actually get more of a organized center of circulation. So this is one of many models that we are watching. This is the European. You can see the dueling storms. We have one a little weaker that would be possibly Imelda by this weekend. But notice how close it could be to our coastline. So just because that margin of error is so small, we want to make sure that viewers, you guys are checking back in. We have many ways of getting that information, even on the weekends. If you're trying to disconnect, just make sure News 6, clickorlando.com, our News 6 Plus app, or our News 6 weather app as well. This is the the American model, still also showing kind of the back-to-back storms between Bermuda as well as Florida. So there's going to be a lot of activity just off our coast this weekend. So you really want to make sure that you are paying attention. So Invest 94L will be developing pretty soon. Regardless of its exact strength and exact location, we're still talking about rough seas and surf. Certainly going to be something we're going to be watching closely. And then the other impacts will be really dependent on its track. Locally here, we're just looking at a pretty typical setup. Speaking of marine hazards, taking a live look outside Daytona Beach, a beautiful live spot, a live shot here as temperatures continue to stay in the upper 80s. It is humid, the breeze is relatively light, and as you can see that surf, today it looks good. It won't. Starting Saturday, Sunday, Monday, that's really where it's going to be the worst as conditions for beachgoers and boaters will deteriorate. But now let's check on that hour-by-hour forecast for today.
Sponsored by Strata Air Conditioning and Heating. AC emergency, you ought to call Strata.
Our highs today still running well above average, upper 80s, low 90s. When you factor in all that humidity that is currently just stagnant over Central Florida, it will be feeling possibly close to the warmest day of the week with feels like temperatures back up to about 103. As we head into the afternoon, some lingering storms will once again start to develop, pushing from west to east. We could see some rain rock until as late as about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Then as we head into Friday, again, similar setup, sea breeze showers and thunderstorms. But as of right now, we have to continue to watch closely as Invest 94 eventually develops.
Candace, thank you. Another recall for thousands of Ford pickup trucks. Coming up, we'll tell you which models are affected and what the safety issue is. Ford is recalling more than 115,000 pickup trucks that might have a defect that could cause drivers to lose steering control. The recall includes 3 models in the 2020 and 2021 production years. Those models are the F-250, F-350, and F-450. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the upper shaft of the steering column could detach, potentially leading to dangerous situations for drivers on the road. Ford estimates about 1% of the recalled trucks have the defect. The automaker said it has not received any reports of crashes or injuries, and dealers will replace the faulty part free of charge. Starbucks is closing more stores and announcing a second round of layoffs at its headquarters. This is all in an effort to revive its struggling business. Today, CEO Brian Niccol said the company will shut down hundreds of stores this month, about 1% of its locations by the end of September. Starbucks will have 18,300 North American locations. That is down from more than 18,700 it had at the end of June. Starbucks also says another 900 corporate positions will be laid off. This is in addition to the roughly 1,000 previously announced in February. The company expects its restructuring efforts to cost $1 billion. Try out our all-new primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. Matt and Ginger have a new take on the day's news on News 6 tonight. That's at 9. Then go in-depth as we track the tropics and answer your weather questions with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas at 9:30. Then you can watch the late news an hour earlier. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus. We'll be right back.
All right, the next couple of days will certainly be interesting as we are going to continue to see that summertime heat over the next couple of days. We will be dealing with some scattered showers and thunderstorms, already starting to see some of it develop on the radar. But then as we head into the weekend, marine conditions are going to get pretty hazardous. But of course, all eyes remain on the tropics. What sort of system will we be dealing with just off our shore? You have to make sure to stay tuned and watch.
Okay, switch over right now to the News 6 Plus streaming app or clickorlando.com to watch News 6 Extra. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.